I still dream about that December sky. It was 1943, and I was 21 years old, flying a B-17 bomber they called Olde Pub over Bremen, Germany. We were supposed to drop our payload and turn back toward England. Simple, clean. But nothing was ever simple at 20,000 feet. Not when the flak batteries below were trying to tear you from the sky like an angry god swatting at flies. The mission had gone to hell almost immediately. We'd been hit hard over the target. Anti-aircraft fire punching holes through our fuselage like it was paper. The number 2 engine was smoking, streaming black oil across the wing. The number 4 engine was dead. Our oxygen system was shot to pieces, and half my crew was wounded. Charlie, our tail gunner, wasn't moving anymore. I didn't want to think about Charlie. I could taste blood in my mouth, though I couldn't remember getting hit. The cold at that altitude was beyond anything you can imagine. It wasn't just cold. It was the kind of cold that makes your bones ache, that turns your breath to ice crystals on your oxygen mask, that makes you wonder if you'll ever feel warm again. Through the shattered windscreen, the wind screamed like all the fury of winter itself, and every breath I took felt like swallowing broken glass. We had fallen out of formation. That was the worst thing that could happen. A lone bomber was a dead bomber. The rest of the squadron was already miles ahead, disappearing into the clouds like ghosts. We were limping along at barely 8,000 feet now, losing altitude with every mile, and I knew the German fighters would find us. It was only a matter of time. Then I saw him, a Messerschmitt Bf 109, sleek and deadly, rising up on our right wing. I remember my heart stopping. This was it. This was how we died. I waited for the cannon fire, for the tracers to rip through what was left of our aircraft, for the final darkness. My hand moved instinctively toward the control yoke, though there was nowhere to go. Nothing I could do. We were too slow, too damaged, too broken. But the bullets never came. The German pilot pulled alongside us, close enough that I could see his face through the canopy. He was young, maybe younger than me, with dark eyes that held something I hadn't expected to see in an enemy pilot. He wasn't looking at his gun sight. He was looking at us, at our shattered aircraft, at the blood frozen on the fuselage, at the way we were barely staying airborne. He raised his hand. Not in a salute, not in threat, but in something else entirely. Recognition, maybe, understanding. For a moment that felt like forever. We were just two men suspended in the sky, each of us wondering how we'd ended up here, on opposite sides of someone else's war. Then he did something that still, after all these years, I struggle to comprehend. He tucked his fighter in beside us, matching our pathetic speed, and he stayed there. He became our escort. Through my shattered windscreen, I watched him wave off two other German fighters that approached. They circled once, confused, then peeled away. The pilot in the Bf 109, whose name I would later learn was Franz Stigler, positioned himself between us and the anti-aircraft batteries below. He guided us toward the North Sea, toward England, toward home. He flew with us for miles, this enemy pilot, protecting us from his own countrymen. I remember thinking I must be hallucinating from lack of oxygen. Men didn't do this. Not in war. Not when every instinct, every order, every propaganda poster told you the enemy was something less than human. But there he was, wingman to a crippled American bomber, risking court-martial, risking execution for treason, risking everything for reasons I couldn't begin to understand. When we finally crossed over the North Sea, when the English coast was close enough that we might actually make it, he pulled away. He looked at me one last time through the canopy, gave a gentle salute, then banked his Messerschmitt hard to the south, and disappeared back toward Germany. Back to his war, back to his orders, back to everything we were supposed to be to each other. We made it home. Barely. The tower crew said they'd never seen a B-17 so shot up still flying. They counted over 200 holes in the airframe. They found Charlie in the tail section and carried him out in silence. We'd lost one engine completely, another was hanging by cables, and there was so much blood inside the aircraft that it took them 2 days to clean it all out. I filed my report. I told them about the German pilot. They didn't believe me. Some thought I was in shock. Others thought I was covering up cowardice. That maybe we hadn't fought hard enough. That maybe I was inventing a story to explain why we'd survived when we shouldn't have. But I knew what I'd seen. I knew what he'd done. For years after the war, I couldn't stop thinking about him. About why he'd done it. About what it cost him. About whether he'd survived. I searched, in my own quiet way, through records and veteran groups, and anyone who might know anything about a Luftwaffe pilot who'd spared an American bomber in December 9. It took me 46 years to find him. His name was Franz Stigler, and he had survived the war. When we finally met, both of us old men now, he told me why he'd done it. Had flown up to deliver the killing blow, but when he saw the state of our aircraft, saw the wounded crew through the shattered fuselage, saw that we were barely more than dead men flying, Something in him couldn't pull the trigger. His commanding officer had once told him, if you ever find an enemy crew that's already beaten, that's helpless, you don't kill them, that's not combat, that's murder. So he'd escorted us instead. He'd protected us. He'd given us the chance to go home. We became friends, Franz and I. Brothers, really, bound by something deeper than nationality or uniform. We spent the last years of our lives together. Two old pilots remembering when we were young, when the world was at war and when one man chose mercy over duty. People ask me sometimes what I learned from the war. They expect stories of heroism, of victory, of the triumph of good over evil. But I think of France, and what I learned is this: even in the darkest moments, even when everything in the world tells you to hate, even when you're supposed to be enemies, humanity can break through. One act of compassion, one moment of seeing the person instead of the uniform, can echo through the decades. Franz died in 2008. I followed him 4 years later. But somewhere in the space between us, in that frozen December sky over Germany, something eternal happened. Two enemies became brothers. And that, more than any bomb or bullet or battle, is what I choose to remember. The sky is quiet now, and I can finally rest.